Hey, good evening, man. I want to welcome you guys back to the Conversation 9-8, man. I'm so happy back on here again. Happy to be back with you guys. And man, look, hey, apologies. I know I said 7 o'clock today. Working, your boy working, man. So hey, you got to do what you got to do. Made that happen, and I'm here right now. So that's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm looking forward to, and looking forward to have a conversation with you guys tonight, man. Make sure y'all tune in. Let me know where you watching from, where you tuning in from, and this is a interactive conversation. This is an interactive conversation. But man, hey, I'm feeling good, man. I'm doing well. You know, even though work went a little bit longer than what it was supposed to, I was just reflecting. I'm glad that I have employment, even though I'm getting ready to retire. But I'm glad I have employment and been blessed to be able to be employed for my whole adult life. So sometimes we have to just reflect on the good stuff, like the Army say, the old what's that, military resiliency, MRT, military resilience training. Say hunt the good stuff, and yeah, just being focused on the good stuff. And sometimes we can get frustrated, but there was nothing I could do to change it. It was part of my role, so that's what I did. So enough about all of that, man. I hope everybody doing well, man. I hope some kids started back school starting back next week for a lot of people back home, back down south. I know people up north and other places they got out of school late. You guys still full fledged summer. Enjoy yourself, be safe, and hey, just looking forward to the conversation, man. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Feel free to comment, and hey, we're gonna get right on with this thing. And tonight, it's a good thing, man, and I'm excited about it. Excited about the conversation for tonight. Excited about the opportunities for tonight, and one of the things we're gonna talk about, and I think it's gonna be real good. But this is what we're talking about tonight: is life will be more peaceful when you stop making yourself responsible for others' choices. Life will just simply be more peaceful when you stop making yourself responsible for other people's choices. And I know that's easily said than done in a lot of ways, because a lot of times we make ourselves responsible for other people's choices, and we're not responsible for their choices. We're not. I don't care. I mean, I'm being honest with you. We can be responsible for people, and there's a time period that's associated with it. Like there's a time period associated with I can be responsible for my children, but at the end of the day, they're responsible for their own choices. They make their choices. And life will become so much more peaceful when we stop making ourselves responsible for other people's choices. Stop making yourself responsible for other people's choices, and you will see just how much more peaceful your life will be when you stop carrying on burdens that is not meant for you to carry. Serious. It's not. And I know that can be a hard thing to swallow, but like again, stop making yourself responsible. And I really want people to understand this. And I know this, I know this, but you can have all the good intentions in the world. Your heart can be in the right place. You can have the intentions of being an exceptional mother, exceptional father, exceptional spouse, exceptional sibling, exceptional. You can have your mindset that that's what you're going to do. And go ham on that. Be 100% committed to it. But stop making yourself feel like you're responsible for the choices other people make. Because the reason why you will find yourself being frustrated and not at peace a lot of times in those situations is when somebody else realizes that you're making yourself responsible for their choices, they will just use you and let you run yourself raggedy while they throw their consequences on you and you carrying the burden of their choices. And what it does with them is it keeps them in a space to where they don't even realize or be able to acknowledge the true consequences of the decisions and the choices that they make. And at the end of the day, if you that one doing that for them, you created that person. You created it. You can get upset about it, but you created it. And I don't. And this is the other thing, man. I want people to really sit down and think about this. But there's a lot of parents who really need to sit back and realize that you have made yourself responsible for the choices of your children as a way because you feel guilty about what may have transpired as they grew up. And I'm not telling you not to be guilty. I'm not telling you that there may not be any fault in those situations. But some of your kids are playing you and they're playing on your emotions because you are allowing that guilt to allow you to be manipulated in that situation. You're not responsible for their choices. They're responsible for their choices. Them kids grown. They grown. They out on their own. They done made their decisions. They're making all these choices, and you're there steady running to their rescue, making yourself responsible, feeling like you're responsible for their choices, but they are the ones responsible. And many of them will never learn the lessons of responsibility, being accountable for your actions, because you always trying to run in and be the savior. And that's not your role. That's not your role. So don't get it twisted. Don't sit around and feel like that. But I'm telling you, a lot of people, that's what happens. You feel as if that's your role. You feel as if that is what you're supposed to do out of guilt. Nah, man. One of the most freeing things that I've learned in life is when to let go of certain things. And many times we hold on to stuff out of good intentions. And there's nothing wrong with holding on to something out of good intentions. But you got to start to realize, okay, where of those good intentions start to become a burden or a hindrance to me? And then where's my level of responsibility in that situation? Because many times we add ourselves to stuff that we're not even really responsible for. And we add ourselves to it because we got good intentions. But sometimes you got to just sit there and use logic and be like, where am I really responsible for this? Where are their choices and the consequences of somebody else's choices my responsibility? And most of the time, almost all the time, you realize you're not responsible for it. So stop making yourself responsible for other people's choices. Stop doing that. I'm just being honest with you. When you stop doing that, you'll realize, dang, man, I ain't responsible for it. And, you know, one of the things I want us to realize this too is when you stop making yourself responsible for other people's choices, the freedom and the peace that you have started to find, the freedom and the peace that you'll start to gain, the freedom and the peace that you'll start to experience comes from the realization of the other person who you've inserted yourself to be responsible for their choices. They'll start to have to wear that. You're wearing yourself out. You're hindering yourself from living your best life, making yourself responsible for somebody else's choices. Your kid's grown. The Bible said, bring them up in the way that they should go, not will go. So why are you still making yourself responsible for them making choices for the last 10, 15 years? They in their 30s. Move on. You're not responsible for them. Their choices aren't your responsibility. And once you realize that, you'll start to be like, dang, you'll start to find yourself with a lot of time to yourself, and you're not stressing out about stuff that you were stressing out about before. I'm being honest with you. Now, one of the things I want us to realize is when we sit down and we tell ourselves all the time, we make ourselves responsible and we get in a habit of making ourselves responsible for other people's choices. When we get in a habit of doing that, what tends to happen is this. We tend to always stay at a heightened state of alertness. And we suffer with anxiety. We suffer with all these different things, and we fight with all these different things. While the person who making the choices, they go on and live their best life because they done got so conditioned to you making yourself responsible for them. They sitting there like, oh, he made himself responsible for it. Hey, they're going to keep doing it. And they're going to use you. And you can get mad at them, but you the one continue to put yourself in those situations. So you're going to have to be the one to pull yourself back. And you ain't got to make no announcement. You just say, look, announce to yourself, I'm not responsible for other people's choices. I can assist them if I choose to, but I'm not responsible. And I know that's that can be a hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. That can be a hard pill to swallow for many. What's going on, Aunt? How you doing, man? Love you, cuz. Love you. Thanks for tuning in. But it can be a hard pill to swallow. And because, you know, and I want us to think about this, right? Stop confusing you caring about somebody and wanting their best interest for them with that being your responsibility for the choices that they make. Even if they sought your counsel, even if they don't seek your counsel, even if they're the most precious thing in the world to you, they still are responsible for their choices. Now, if you choose to assist them in any capacity, that is your personal decision, but it's not your responsibility. And I hope somebody that hear this, I hope this resonate with you, because you're wasting time, energy, and effort on people, on somebody else making their choices, and you're making the results and the consequences of their choices your responsibility. And 100%, it is not your responsibility. It is your choice if you choose to do so, but not your responsibility. It is. And I know that's a hard thing. I know that it's something that for a lot of people, it can be a daunting task, a very daunting task. And, I was sitting around thinking about just what to talk about for this weekend, and this one popped up. And the reason why it popped up is I thought about a lot of stuff that I thought about, dang, how many times do people make themselves responsible for somebody else's choices? Like, if you sit down and think about it. And like, I'm being honest with you, the truth is, many times we need to sit down and do inventory on how many times we make ourselves responsible for somebody else's choices, for somebody else's decisions, for somebody else, whatever it is. We make ourselves responsible for people. And I don't know why we do that. And I know that it can be a hard thing, but once we sit down and do an inventory, now, when we say, dang, why am I doing this? Why do I feel like that is my responsibility? That's when you start to peel the onion back. And once you start to peel your onion back, you'll start to realize is many of us, we adapt a savior mentality. And we adapt the savior mentality because that savior mentality is something that we feel like it makes us feel like we're a hero. And then like we think because we feel like we're a hero, then that's a good thing. No, that hero thing is a coping mechanism for you not to address and deal with the real reason why you're choosing to do it. I'm just being honest with you. Just deal with the real reason why you're choosing to do it. And why is that? And that takes some time and some self-awareness that, hey, I'm going to take some time and deal with me. I'm going to take some time and do inventory of me. And I know doing inventory of you is not something that's easy. That's not something that's fun. That's not something that is exciting a lot of time, because we know who the person that we're looking back with. A lot of times we just don't want to see it. And I want us to really think about that and think about this. Many times the reason why we struggle with dealing with the person in the mirror is because we already know who we're going to see. It's just for us, we don't want to accept the reality of what we see. And that's why it's so hard for many of us to get down and do that self-work and do that self-discovery to the point to where we're in a space to where we are dealing with why we're doing certain things. And now I'm speaking to us. Why do we feel like why do we make ourselves responsible for other people's choices? You're not responsible for their choices. Every individual is responsible for their choices, regardless of the influence that led them to make those choices. They are responsible for their choices. Now, if you choose to assist them in that space, you are choosing to assist them, but you're not responsible. And I just want you to, want you to really peel that back and realize, dang, I'm not responsible. Once you realize that, it makes it easier for you to move forward. Yeah, you're right. Just checking yourself is hard. But the reality is we got to get to a space where we want to address the reality of who we are. That's getting to a space, get to a mental space. Because, one of the hard things about it is, this is one of the hard things. When we get to a space to where we are willing to address the reality of who we are, one thing we realize is, one, other people are going to see you for who you are, no matter how much you lie to yourself, no matter how much you try to cover it up, no matter how much you think that you're fooling other people. The things that you put out there, people will see it from a mile away. So one, you might well be honest with yourself. Two, once you get to that space of reality dealing with yourself, you're freeing yourself from the other people's opinions of you. The reason why you're freeing yourself from other people's opinion of you is you're realizing, you're accepting, you'll come to the reality to accept the fact that, hey, I need to change. I need to be better in this space. And the third thing is, once you get to a space to where you're ready to deal with the reality of you recognize that not only that you need to change, but you recognize the error in your ways. And now you're moving forward to elevating and becoming a better version of yourself. So when you get to that space, it is so freeing, it is so powerful to do that. I'm telling you, it's freeing and it's powerful to do that. And I know it because self-discovery and getting all those things, they're not fun to go. They're not fun to initiate, but they're such a great thing to go through. Such a great thing to go through on the other end. And I'm not lying to you. I'm not exaggerating. There's such a great thing to go through on the other end. Ant said, we don't want to see ourselves or let others see, then you will be accountable. Yes, but, and I'm glad you brought that up, Ant. I'm glad you brought that up. The reality is this. You liking it or not, accountability will always face you, always be in your face. You avoiding, you feeling like you dismissive and you avoiding accountability, you still gonna have to face it. And one thing about accountability is the sooner you face it, the sooner it's gone. Like if you think about it, if you did something wrong and you keep kicking the can down the road, now you're dealing with anxiety of it always being there. You're dealing with the anxiety of the unknown for what the outcome is going to be. And you just keep, and it's there. And it's like a noose around your neck. It's like a weight around your neck. And because you keep kicking the can down the road. But if you hold yourself accountable for whatever it is and you face it, once you face it, everything is exposed right then and boom, you move forward. That weight is dropped right there. So that's why it's so important to just say, hey, I'm going to do the work to deal with me and address me. So now I'm not dealing with that. I'm dealing with the right now, so it's not hindering my future. And I'm dropping it right now so that I can move on. I'm dropping it right now so I can move on. And that's something that's very freeing. That's something that's very necessary. Very necessary. Very, very necessary. Now, I do want to talk about this, right? And I wanted to address it. One thing I do want to address, and the peace that you will find when you stop making yourself responsible for other people's choices is so freeing, but initially you won't know what to do with it because you have conditioned yourself to inserting yourself into taking the responsibility of other people. And this is the thing, right? Just like I said earlier, you can have all the great intentions, but many times we don't see that we become overbearing. We don't see that we're doing too much in our children's lives, our other people's lives, feeling like we got to come in. Let them stand on their own 2 feet. Let them do the things that you train them up to do. What are you so afraid of? Are you afraid that you're afraid that if they make a mistake or they got to deal with the consequences of the choices that they make, that there's a failure on you? No, that's life. So stop judging yourself based off of what you think their consequence is going to be. That's life. You know, the reality, you got to ask yourself, you know, out of all of the things that happen to you, out of all of the choices you make, and I say, out of all of the things that happen to you and out of all the choices you make, how many times people ran to your rescue? How many times people have come into your life and taken responsibility for your choices? And you know what's funny? The funny thing is, people never tend to make themselves responsible for somebody's choices that is beneficial to that person. Because if it's beneficial, if I make a decision and I make a choice and it's beneficial to me, oh, I ain't let nobody come in and take responsibility for it because I want to claim that. So why do we always feel like we got to run in and take responsibility for bad choices that people make? Let them be same. Let them keep that same energy and let them move the way that they move with that. And the reason why, if you allow them to move the way that they move, if it's quote unquote beneficial to them, then you'll realize, hey, these folks just been using me. And I don't blame them because you're putting yourself out there. You're putting yourself out there. So just stop making yourself responsible for everybody, man. And I hope this has been helpful. I hope this has been a great conversation, and it's something that I wanted to talk about. But yeah, life would be more peaceful when you stop making yourself responsible for other people's choices. Man, I guess as older I get, people say, hey, look, I'm getting close to 50. The older I get, it's not that, yeah, I'll be honest, the older I get, the more I don't care. It's not in a negligent way. It's just the more I get, the older I get, the more I realize what I can control, what I can't control, and what's my responsibility. And I promise you, if it's not my responsibility, I'm not wasting time, energy, and effort on it because it's not going to benefit me in the long run. So that's just my mindset. That's just how I'm going to roll. And man, I really hope you guys have a great and wonderful day. Thank y'all for rocking with your boy, episode 222. Funny thing is, I'm in room 222. And y'all remember that commercial, 2 + 2 = 222. That's I think Church's commercial. Yeah, Church's commercial. But hey, that's a nostalgic moment that I had. But hey, man, make sure y'all go and support your boy on social media platforms, on YouTube at The Conversation 98, on here, The Conversation 98, also on TikTok, The Conversation _98, and Instagram, The Conversation 98. You guys have a great and wonderful day. Wish you guys well. Have a blessed weekend. See you later. God bless.